Hello. Hello. Greetings. Whoa. Hello. Hi. Hello. My name is spacetypo and I have a video idea. For October, I had this idea that I would do Inktober. If you're not familiar with Inktober, it's basically a prompt list in which you draw something every day with ink. So you could either draw straight with ink, which could be fancy like artist ink, Sharpie, whatever, or you could do, you know, like a pencil drawing underneath and then ink it. And then to post it to social media, share it with your friends, share your art with somebody. And the idea is to also be consistent. So either you post the art every day, or you post the art every other day, every 5 days, once a week, whatever you want. But the point is to be consistent, and the point is to share it. And so I had this idea that instead of just posting my art to Instagram, I could film myself every day just briefly explaining the piece of art, and just kind of explaining the inspiration behind the piece or how I interpreted the prompt. So I don't know, I just thought it would be an interesting video idea. Maybe it's dumb, it sounded good in my head. So yeah, that's what this video is my explanation of my Inktober pieces. So today is October 1st, and let's go. Inktober prompt 1. Ring. My interpretation was that of a phone ringing. And, you know, given that it's October, I decided to jump straight into the macabre and to have some kind of dark implications with this. In the photo you can see kind of it's 2:41 in the morning, the battery's low, as if this person hasn't charged their phone in a while, and mom's calling. And, you know, then there's the door. I mean, it kind of looks, I guess, like a door that's opening. I don't know, I kind of like the vibe of this person is being found, implied to be dead. Prompt 2. Mindless. Or as I have personally titled this piece, Live, Laugh, Lobotomy. A question that has plagued humans for a hell of a long time, to put it lightly, is the question of what is the mind? And with, you know, this picture, you could ask yourself, what is the absence of mind? So, you know, depending on how you define the mind, now we tend to go towards the medical route or to look at neurology. And so I was thinking, what could make you lose your mind? Well, one word, lobotomy. Just go look that up. Look up what the fuck a lobotomy is and how that messes with your brain. This drawing was actually really fun to draw, just because I wanted to do something really dramatic with the lighting. I did something that I've never actually done before, and that was making it backlit. Again, lobotomy. Just look up what a lobotomy is, and you'll understand why I chose that as my prompt. Prompt 3. Bait. When I thought of bait, I was originally just going to draw a fish hook, but then I thought, what are the modern applications of bait? Because, you know, we're baited into things. How do I encounter baiting in a daily sense? And I very quickly realized clickbait. People get clickbaited every single day in modern technology, and especially YouTube. And I thought it was quite fitting because I'm posting this to YouTube. And so I thought that would be a really cool interpretation. Plus, I'm gonna make this the thumbnail of the video, and I'm also titling it exactly like that. I decided I'll make the time 35 minutes, 12 seconds, because I figured 1 minute of explanation, 31 days, intro, outro, you know. So I'll be trying to make it that long, if possible. Prompt 4. Freeze. Where do you hear freeze? And then I started thinking, well, police shootings. which is really fucking dark, but you know. Police violence is a thing. You could talk about violence against people of color. You could also talk about, which is actually an argument, something, not an argument, like a discussion that people don't really have, is people with mental illnesses who are victims of police violence. I don't want to take the shift away from violence experienced by people of color in Canada and the United States, but you know, you can have more than one conversation at once, and one conversation that we ignore often is the conversation of people with mental illnesses who are victims. Day 5. Build. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. This is not a mitochondria, I'm aware, but it's part of the cell, and the cell is the building blocks for life. Day 6. Husky. In the winter, the sky and the ground sometimes look the exact same, like there's no horizon. It looks like you're in a giant bubble, and I realized the more I looked at it that this kind of reminds me of daylight and sunlight horror, which is one of my favorite genres of horror, because it's not as traditional as normal, I guess, horror you could say, because horror typically lives in the dark, right? It's all about the night and being in the dark, and you don't know what's in the dark, and so, you know, you feel safe in the light. So, you know, the more I looked at this picture, I was like, oh, it's just a nice dog sled ride. But the more I looked at it, I was like, oh god, this is actually kind of terrifying, because it has to be so disorienting, and I can see why you could easily suffer from cabin fever. Just imagine being all alone, surrounded by pure whiteness. Just nothing. Just this blank sheet. No horizon. That's scary. 7. Enchanted. For Enchanted, it's kind of dark, like most of the stuff in this little series. But for Enchanted, I was kind of thinking of when we are disenchanted with the world, we tend to turn to bad things to, I guess, re-enchant ourselves, maybe a form of escapism. I'm not sure, but I don't know, I just thought of something kind of dark, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know how to kind of describe the thought process here. I was just like, I'm just gonna draw something, you know, that may seem enchanting to some people, depending on their state of mind. 8. Frail. For previous drawings, I had used a finer inking pen, but for this one I decided to go with Sharpie to make it really bold, because I kind of wanted to make a bold statement in a way. There's more than one way to be frail, and there's nothing wrong, just like there's nothing wrong with being physically frail, there's nothing wrong with having a mental frailness, because, you know, it's kind of sad because we don't see physical frailness as being any kind of moral, you know, like it's not a character flaw, but as soon as you are sick mentally speaking, all of a sudden you're like a bad person, or you're considered weak. You have your character, just who you are, is somehow weak all of a sudden just because, you know, you struggle mentally, and that's not true. When you go into the adult world, you're expected to become self-sufficient. This particular piece is for the adults out there. My message to you, if you're an adult and you're struggling, is that it's not just for young people. You can do something about it too. 9. Swing. For swing, I just wanted to do something a little lighthearted, nothing too dark, because most of what I've done so far is hella dark, so I thought I'd do something cute. 10. Pattern. Again, kind of dipping into the mental illness theme that I have going, apparently. I thought, you know, what is repetitive? What's something repetitive? And something repetitive is intrusive thoughts. I don't really know how to kind of verbalize what I wanted to do here, but, you know, I guess just to keep it simple, just intrusive thoughts of harm, either to others or oneself. I don't know. And with this piece in particular, I was also trying to go for a little bit of an MC Escher vibe to kind of emulate him a little bit. You know, his art is pretty cool, and so this is kind of a little homage to him, I guess. So that was also kind of an inspiration for the piece and the style of drawing. 11. Snow. This one's really simple. I just wanted to kind of look at the scientific route of snow, and I thought that this was a cool, I don't know, way to do it. So that's all I have to say about snow, really. 12. Dragon. For this one, I did something just simple, just a girl taking a selfie, kind of like a nude almost, and there's a dragon on just as a tattoo. 13. Ash. I'm so proud of this one. I worked so fucking hard on this one, and it took me hours to do, and it was totally worth it. This one is a gas mask, like an older style kind of gas mask, and in the eyes I hope you can see kind of the remnants of a civilization, almost kind of like trying to go for like a Chernobyl vibe. I know the mask is older than when Chernobyl actually happened. I was actually listening to a song, just like this one song over and over again, and I'm playing it right now. But I want to just do like a slow zoom of the whole piece, and I'm just gonna play the music as I show you this image, just because I worked it. I don't know, it really sets the tone, I find. So just enjoy this tiny little clip here. Overgrown. This one's quite personal to me, simple but personal, because you can see in the image a bunch of ballerinas, and one of them is taller. She's in a sense overgrown compared to the people her age, and that's actually supposed to represent me, because I used to do ballet when I was younger, and I was always the tallest and always the biggest, so they always stuck me to the back. I low-key blame my ballet professors for my laziness and horrible work ethic, because I never had to learn the here's the thing, I was super tall, so they always stuck me at the back, and so I never had to learn any of the choreography. Like I could always half-ass it, or even if I was like doing a good job, I never actually had to like learn it. I was just kind of doing it, you know? Like you know what I mean? Like I didn't actually have to work for it. And so, I don't know, that's just me though, I'm just a lazy bitch. 15. Legend. The jackalope is my absolute favorite mythical creature. It's my absolute favorite legend, which is why the jackalope is my icon. And so I want to redraw my icon, and I'm considering this as a candidate, but I'm not 100% sure. There was this virus called the Shope papilloma virus that was essentially causing rabbits back in the 30s to grow warts over their body. They're these little benign tumors, and they looked a little bit like horns on some places. And so, you know, the tail of the jackalope grew from people seeing these quote-unquote horned rabbits, which were really just rabbits which were infected with the Shope papilloma virus. And so I thought that was just really cool to think that it has kind of a scientific validity. It's not really a scientific validity, but you know what I mean. 16. Wild. Back in high school, I was an international baccalaureate student, or I was in the IB program. And we had in English an oral presentation called the Independent Oral Presentation, I think it was called. It was an IOP. And if you look back on my YouTube channel, you'll see that I actually uploaded a video called Mussolini versus 1984 IOP, because we were studying the book 1984 by George Orwell. And I was comparing Mussolini, like the real life, you know, Mussolini, versus the book and drawing connections between the two. And I used that video as a slideshow, but in the video, I included my grandmother's experience because my nonna lived in Italy under fascist rule when she was a child in World War II, and I used her experience as inspiration for this drawing.
Andavamo a vederli quando pensa che ci facevano fare anche alle donne la fossa nel cimitero, la mettevano ancora dentro viva e poi le sparavano. E c'era uno poverino che ha detto che aveva 5 figli, non mi uccidete che ho 5 bambini, e invece l'hanno ucciso.
A couple summers ago, I actually went down to the cemetery where this happened, and there's nothing there. It's complete wilderness. It's just like a weird little clearing with a shitty little fence, and it's completely unkept, and there's just nameless graves, and it's just horrifying to think of what my grandmother saw. 17. Ornament. Jewelry is a type of ornament, and you get jewelry from modifying your body, and my ear stretching videos are what get views. People come to my channel because they want to check out my ear stretching videos. And if you watched my video on A New Era is Upon This Channel video, I made an effort to rebrand myself because I started getting more traffic, and there was another person on YouTube who had the same name as me, and so I decided to change my name to spacetypo. And in the process of making it, I decided, let's see how many names I could claim, because I wanted a name that could be just that name on different platforms. So for example, I wanted my Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to be the same name. No extra underscores or dashes or whatever or numbers. I wanted it to be just that name. And nobody took spacetypo. And so then I started testing it out. I was like, okay, let's see how many platforms I can claim. Now, up to date, I have 9 platforms that I have quote-unquote claimed the username spacetypo, which is pretty cool. DeviantArt was one of the platforms where spacetypo was not claimed. And so I decided, fuck it, I'll just create an account on DeviantArt. I've always been curious about the site, but I've never actually gone on it. And truth be told, without DeviantArt, I probably wouldn't have finished Inktober or put the amount of effort that I did. And so, I'm pretty grateful because this has been a very cool experience. It's all kind of full circle. Without my ornaments, I would not have views, and without views, I would not have a rebranding, and without my rebranding, I would not have created a DeviantArt for fun, and without my DeviantArt, I would not have posted my Inktober 2019, and without my Inktober 2019, I would not have a video. 18. Misfit. I only need 6 words to tell you the inspiration behind why I drew Misfit the way that I did. Here they are.
Why weren't you at elf practice?
Prompt 19. Sling. I really, really love dot work, and I wanted to get at least one piece with dot work, and I really love doing it. It's a little time consuming though, which is why I don't do it very often. However, I decided to take the opportunity to do it now. As for the drawing itself, Sling made me think of those slings that moms wear so that their hands are free. And the reason that the baby has a face and the mother doesn't is because it's supposed to represent a mother who died in childbirth and a baby who is now without a mom. Because it's an unfortunate reality and it happens. I'm not really sure what inspired me to take this route, but for whatever reason I just felt like she shouldn't have a face. Prompt 20. Tread. guaranteed that whether or not you have watched the movie Jaws, you have absolutely heard that theme song at some point in your life. This was a kind of a redrawing, I guess, of the iconic shot of Chrissy at the very beginning of the movie, just before she gets eaten. This was just such an interesting shot to me, and it was so intense. The reason why I chose Jaws was, first of all, treading water, obviously, but second of all, I found Jaws to be quite fitting because this is actually one of the rare cases in which I think the movie was better than the book. So I thought I would do a little homage to that. Prompt 21. Treasure. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Obviously, you can see it. There's a very literal little treasure box, and I made the background purposefully gross and messy because I wanted to emulate a garbage dump, which you can see the seagulls in the sky going for the trash. You can see the big garbage trucks and stuff, and I tried to make a little bit of perspective in this, making the dots smaller at the back so that they were trash in the distance. Prompt 22. Ghost. I just wanted to make a little woke kawaii ghost. I was gonna go for something super serious before, like a ghost of the self, and it was gonna be super just sad, but I decided no, I want to do something a little cute, just make a cute little ghosty. 23. Ancient. The other day, something low-key, like super trippy happened. I was watching a video, I can't remember who was by, but at one point, the person that was doing the video said the phrase,
"For those who don't know what a VHS is."
And I realized that we've hit that point in tech where things like VHSs are becoming old, ancient tech. I mean, obviously it's not quite on the level of a floppy disk, but like there's an entire generation of kids out there that doesn't know what a VHS is, or maybe even hasn't held a VHS in their hands. 24. Dizzy. Being dizzy is one of the worst feelings. It feels like you are having an earthquake, basically. It's in your head, like it's in your body, and I hate just the feeling of that loss of control and how the world starts spinning. And so I drew a tree to kind of, that was kind of the best representation that I could give for spinning, but I also made it really harsh because I wanted to give it a very scary feel to it. Like you're looking at a tree and the world starts spinning and everything is just dark and scary, and I wanted to give a sense of panic when you're actively afraid. Prompt 25. Tasty. I love the idea of a vampire, and the vampire tooth isn't super noticeable immediately, but when you notice it, you see it. And so initially you might think like, oh, maybe you're just eating, I don't know, chocolate or something like that, but it's really drippy, and you know, you start to wonder, what is this being eating? And then you realize it's blood because of the vampire tooth. This piece was also really fun to draw because I actually used myself as the model. I took a picture of my own mouth and used that as the reference photo. And so you can see a little tongue piercing that I decided to include because if you have not noticed, I do have a tongue piercing. 26. Dark. One of my least favorite things about YouTubers is their apology videos, and my biggest pet peeve with them being the fact that they keep saying,
"I was in a dark place,"
which is total bullshit, and we all know it. I can guarantee you right now that if I ever end up having to make an apology video, because let's face it, I'll probably fuck up at some point because I'm constantly fucking up, I will never use the
"I was in a dark place"
excuse because I'm always in a dark place. 27. Coat. Coat can have different meanings, but for me, I chose the verb to coat something. And I don't know, I was thinking about food that day, and I was thinking about chocolate-covered things, which kind of relates to the tasty prompt in a way. But I just wanted to draw chocolate-covered strawberries. I wanted to see how it looked like with ink, and so that's that one. 28. ride. The car you are seeing is my ride. My ride being a Volkswagen convertible Beetle. It's red and I absolutely love it. It's a manual. I love driving manual. I wanted to give a little homage to my car because Volkswagen stopped making the Beetle, unfortunately, which makes me pretty sad. And I don't know, it's just a cool, unique, fast little car and it was fun to make. And so that was just a little tribute to my ride. 29. Injured. This one is quite graphic, a little bit serious. I marked this one actually as mature on DeviantArt, and this is supposed to be a cut. I actually used a reference photo of a real injury like this, and in this picture I was trying to capture the look of the fat bubbles that are underneath the surface of the skin. And the reason I chose to go with such a graphic image is because I actually have seen that kind of real life gore, you could say, before, and I'll honestly never forget it. I'm not like traumatized or whatever, but like it was in real life, and so every time I think of it, I get this shiver and I get chills every time I think of it, just because it's such a visceral moment. And I know it's just a drawing and it's not like super, you know, I don't know, maybe it's not like super intense for some people, but for me it had a lot of meaning and I wanted to include it in my Inktober. Also just because, you know, it's Inktober, it's October. I have seen spin-offs of Inktober being Goretober. You can see that on Tumblr, and that's specifically gore related. And so I wanted to include, you know, a little bit of horror and gore, and I thought that this was actually a good place, a good time to do it. 30. Catch. It's that time of year again. It's getting colder, the nights are getting longer, the leaves are falling, maybe it's even snowed, and so, you know, it's people start to get a little bit sniffly around this time of year, and you could very well catch a cold if you are not careful. So just a quick reminder to wash your damn hands and stop coughing on everyone. And finally, 31. Ripe. This one was weird to draw, just because I honestly don't see myself getting old. To me, just being old does not compute with my brain. I don't know. It's just weird. But this drawing was really, really interesting to draw because I took a selfie and then used that as a reference photo. But then afterwards, I looked at myself in the mirror and basically looked at where, like, I frowned, I changed my face, and I looked at where I get wrinkles. And so I drew those on my face. And then I also looked at pictures of my mom and my grandmother and looked at where they're wrinkling, because I seem to take after them a little bit in terms of our skin, because both of them had fairly clear skin. I'm very lucky so far. I have very clear skin. I hope I didn't jinx it. But so I'm assuming that I will kind of age like that. I hope that I still have hair. And this one came from the phrase, the ripe old age, and then whatever. And I showed this to my mom actually, and she said I looked like I was 90. I hope that I age that gracefully. If I end up living till 90, honestly, don't know, unclear, does not compute, but if I do, then this is a picture of me at the ripe old age of 90. That concludes my Inktober 2019 video. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I think I was successful in my quest to complete it. Because again, the point of Inktober is to, 1, share it with somebody, and 2, be consistent. So I shared it with DeviantArt. I had never used the site before. I originally made an account as kind of a joke, as I explained in my Ornament thing. I was gonna eventually use it, but I thought Inktober was a cool, you know, starting point. I got constructive criticism. Some people gave me llama badges, which I don't know what that means yet. And I got some really nice comments. And so, you know, I'd never really shared my art in that way before, and that was a really interesting experience. I'm glad that I used it. And, you know, now I'm sharing it with you. As for the consistency aspect, it was a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna be real with you, like, I just completely fell apart at day 15. Ish, around that time. I was not consistent at all in the art. I fell behind on the art. I didn't draw for like a week and a half or something like that. Or I was drawing very sparingly. I was not able to stay consistent. I wasn't able to stay on schedule. And, you know, that wasn't fantastic. And as a result, I wasn't able to film myself, you know, giving an explanation, because, you know, you can't film the explanation if you didn't draw it, obviously. I fell so far behind on the art that I actually ended up doing the last 10 days on October 31st. And I wasn't able to publish all of them on DeviantArt on October 31st. Like, a lot of it ended up being on November 1st. It's November 1st right now, but this is a recap, okay, so it's fine. But I was consistent, semi-consistent at least, in the sense that I was able to at least say the prompt name and the day. So that was one aspect. Obviously it wasn't perfect. There's a couple of clips, like the little titles at the beginning, saying the prompt name and number. Obviously you can see me with the same makeup because I ended up doing the same day, but that's honestly not a big deal because, you know, fundamentally I was able to do it every day or every 3 days ish, and that for me is an accomplishment. By the way, I'm putting my DeviantArt link in the description, so if you want to check out the pictures in HD or whatever, you can. That's about it, really. If you enjoyed the last 35 minutes of your life, great. If you did not enjoy it, I'm very sorry you had to waste your time looking at this. Peace out. I've been on a bit of a nostalgia binge type thing, so I'm bringing back ombre eyebrows on this channel. Resurrecting them from the grave where they belong. I look fucking weird, and I love it. Be quiet, Ginger. Where are you go? That's where you're going. Who needs skin when you could be a pair of eyeballs? I have no feet. That feel when you have absolutely no fucking features. I can't remember who was by, but at one point the person that was doing the video said that was mentioned a VHS. My highlighter is so shiny that it's actually fucking with the exposure, and it's pissing me off a little bit. Like, look at that. It's blinding. Too blinding. Like, I have to bring the brightness down just to look like a human. Also, what the fuck is my hair doing right now? Prompt 19. Fuck. Also, side note, if you are interested in hearing the story of my tongue piercing and how I passed out after getting it, I can tell you. It'll be a really short video, but, you know, might be fun. Like old music and whatever. so that was one man's trash is another man's treasure. Fuck, Ginger, can you stay so this one is so squirmy. Do you have to pee?